Hi, I'm G, this is my art channel, and this is my Promarker drawing of the Winter Soldier from Infinity War. So I've drawn out a screenshot from the trailer, and you can see me laying down a base coat of warm grey number 1. So I've decided to do this in warm greys and cold greys. So then you see me using the warm grey number 1 and just doubling up and adding a second layer to the areas on the face where I know I'm going to have shadow or dark areas, either regular shadow or perhaps his beard. And once I've got those kind of delicate shadow areas mapped in, it's time to flip to the warm grey number 2. So here you can see I'm going in on those shadow areas and adding a layer of warm grey number 2, giving me a little bit more definition, a little bit more darkness in those shadow areas, so I can start to let the face sort of take shape and become a bit more three-dimensional and less flat. So I'm building this up in layers from the lightest colours first to the darkest colours last. And if I think the edges of the warm grey number 2 are a little bit too harsh, I just blend them in gently by going back to the warm grey 1 along the edges. Here you can see me start to add warm grey number 3, so I'm building it up and I'm starting to get some much more satisfying shadow and depth of tone on the face. And I've just used warm greys number 1, 2 and 3, and then you see me add some 4 to the eyes, the nostrils and the mouth, those kind of classic areas that are going to be a lot darker on the face. And even though I don't think that face is finished yet, I'm just going to go off and do some of the other bits first of all and then come back to the face so that it balances and is as dark as all the rest of the picture. So now you can see me working on his kind of leather coat and stuff, and for this I'm using cool greys, and I decided to go with the cool grey 3, 4 and 5 to lay down the tones for this, so that it would have this darker kind of feel anyway, and also make it simpler just using colours 3, 4 and 5. And the only thing that I did different was I swapped out the cool grey 3 for an ice grey 3, which you could get in the old Letraset Promarkers. I don't know if they do it with the Winsor Newton ones, but the ice grey 3 has an even more kind of bluey kind of grey tone to it, and I thought that would be a really good base to start with, and then lay my cool grey number 4 and 5 over the top of that and blend those in to get the dark tones, so that it's really got that kind of division between the warm greys I'm using for his face and his hair, and then the cool greys for his leather jacket and the machinery of the gun. His jacket and the gun are a little bit easier to do than the face, because the face is one large piece that you've got to try and blend as you go along so you don't get drawing lines, whereas with the gun it's all broken up into little sections you can see on my pencil drawing, so I can do all of those sections individually. A bit like, I know it sounds a bit strange, but when I'm doing the flower pictures and I can tackle it a petal at a time, and that makes it so much easier. Well, with this drawing, especially with the machinery, because it's broken up into those separate little penciled sections, I can tackle each one of those separately a little bit at a time without having to worry about the whole thing. The only thing about the whole thing is I've got to try and make sure that all of the tones balance and look okay when I've finished it. Now I'm using 3, 4 and 5 in the cool grey tones, and you know, 5 is dark, but it's not black, and you notice that by looking at the picture. So in order to try and get a much darker tone, all I'm doing is taking the 5 and I'm putting cool grey 5, I'm layering it on. So maybe I've done a section, I'll add another layer of cool grey 5 or another layer of cool grey 5, so that it gets darker and closer towards not a black but a much darker tone. And now you can already see, because I've layered up sections of the gun, they're so much darker when you compare them to the face. So I know I'm going to have to go back onto the face and add some more warm grey 4 and warm grey 5 eventually, just to make sure that it balances, because it's just too pale at the moment. I see quite a lot of artists, comic book artists, using this technique of warm greys for the organic parts of a picture and then cool greys for the unorganic or inorganic parts of the picture. And when somebody mentioned that I hadn't done a comic book character in a while in Promarkers or whatever, I thought, yeah, okay, when I choose one, I'm definitely going to have a crack at doing it this way, using the warm greys and the cool greys. And I was really, really pleased with the way that this went, so I can definitely see myself doing some more characters in the future using this kind of like two-tone technique. Now I'm drawing the magazine of his gun, and it's the lightest part of the gun by far. So what you see me doing is using a lot of the number 3, the ice grey 3, layering that up, and then just to get those grooves on the magazine, I just use a bit of cool grey 4. Now you can see me going back in with warm grey 4 and warm grey 5 to darken those parts of the face that really need a little bit more shadow. So I'm talking about his eyes and his brow, his mustache, his nostrils, and of course his stubbly beard as well. So you can see I'm going in there and layering up a bit more 5, a bit more 4 in order to try and make that a little bit darker. Now I'm doing the hair, and for that I just decided I'm going to use just 4 and 5, because in the reference picture, the screenshot, it's very, very dark and it helps to frame the face. So I just limit myself to 2 markers, 4 and 5. And I do a lot of work with 4, first of all, before I even touch it with the 5. So I'm layering up extra areas of 4 to try and make things a little bit darker anyway, before I then apply 5 and blend that 5 in with the 4. And you can see that as I do this section here. I just layer up and do some second coats of 4 in some areas before I put the 5 on, and then blend that 5 back in with the warm grey number 4. You might also have noticed that I've made things a bit easier for myself by splitting the hair up into sections with my pencil drawing. So I split it up into like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 sections, so I can handle that a bit at a time rather than seeing the whole hair as one big lump that I've got to try and blend and get all my balances right in one go. So a bit like I said earlier with the gun breaking up into sections, I've done that a little bit more simply with the hair as well, just to give me a little bit more time to tweak various bits of it and get some of those sections, you know, dark or light as I need them to be. And you can see me adding up and layering up more dark areas on the hair where I need them, just to make sure they're fully dark. Bit more 5 in his stubble, just so I got a really nice kind of contrast there. And I'm just using warm grey number 1 for the background. Simple as that, to keep the background quite simple. No details that are going to pull away from the character in the foreground. And when I need the warm grey one to be a little bit darker, I'm just layering it up on top of itself, just to give a little bit of variation in that tone in the background. But I keep the background nice and simple. And there you go, that's pretty much the whole drawing finished. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please don't forget to like, share, and also subscribe to my channel. And if you've got any suggestions for future superhero characters, you know I'm a bit of a Marvel fan, put them in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. And if you enjoyed this superhero drawing video and you'd like to see some more, then if you check the links below, you should find your way to some drawings of Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, and Batman. Thanks for watching.